So, good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Talent Finders would like to welcome Global Retail Director, International Commercial Leader, Transformation and Innovation Strategist, Benjamin Rankin. So, welcome, Benjamin.
Thank you very much, Karen. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
So, the title from today is From Music to Mastery, the Global Leadership Journey of Benjamin. So just so everyone has an idea. So first and foremost, Benjamin, I'd like to congratulate you on your impressive career. So to begin, can you share how your professional and entrepreneurial journey started and what first set you on this path?
Of course. I mean, anyone who looks at my LinkedIn profile will clearly find a non-linear path,
Yes.
which is shaped by curiosity, discipline, and people.
Yes.
So I began as a classical musician. And when you're a classical musician, you're trained to pursue excellence, repetition, but also emotional connection.
Yes. Very
And I
important.
hadn't, indeed. And so I had this early realization. I wasn't just drawn to performance, but I was also drawn to how people experience excellence. And so I transitioned from a musician into business through training, which was quite natural because there's a lot of training that goes on when you train as a classical musician, coaching, and then frontline leadership, because that's where, at the time, that's where most of the emotional experiences happened.
Yes.
Then my career evolved organically through learning a bit of risk taking and also saying yes to complexity, especially in international roles.
Yes.
So to be honest, unlike maybe some traditional profiles, my career certainly didn't start with a plan. And I still don't have a plan, and I'm kind of proud of that. It actually just started with curiosity and discipline.
Yes. That's amazing. So, you've spent over 20 years driving growth, transformation, and customer centric excellence for global brands across Europe, the Middle East, Asia, and North America. So, can you tell our audience more about the work that you do today and how you've been able to create such a consistent impact at scale?
Yes. So my role sits at the intersection of strategy, operations, customer experience, and people. It's taking complexity and transforming that into clarity and performance. So what do I try to do? And what do I work with the brands to do? I look to translate the ambition of a brand into an execution, whether it be retail, omni-channel, hospitality, and digital ecosystems. My focus is simple. We need to simplify the processes, empower the people, empower our people, and focus on what customers actually want versus what a brand might think they want. And we need to do it profitably.
Yes.
So the impact comes when we have clear shared KPIs across the organization, when we have clear sets of data and we use data to drive our decisions, when the teams are empowered. Finally, it's all about this transformation. So the transformation has nothing to do with ideas. It's actually about what's going to change when you go to work Monday morning.
Yes. Okay. That makes sense. So with that being said, looking back on your career, what have been some of the most important lessons you've learned throughout your career, particularly from moments of change or challenge? So maybe you've had multiple, but is there one that particularly stands out for you?
Sure. I mean, we have to consider that people and clarity will always outperform talent and speed.
Yes.
So I came from music and it taught me something critical. You need to have the big picture before you design the organization. A Bach orchestra is not a Mahler orchestra. Different structures, different talent, different experience. And the same is true in business, naturally. We need to start with the customer. We need to align and then we need to align everyone around the customer and repeat the process constantly.
Yeah.
And when you think you understand the customer, start over because that means you don't.
Yes.
So constantly challenge that understanding of your customer.
Yeah, absolutely. So that leads me to smarter consumers and evolving brands. So, do you believe today consumers have become more informed, conscious, and demanding? And how has this shift changed the way brands need to think about marketing, engagement, and trust?
So I would say that consumers feel informed,
Yes.
but let's not confuse information with understanding.
Yes.
And I'll go a second step. Artificial intelligence, the standard things like ChatGPT or Gemini,
Mm.
are both designed with neuroscience in mind to create addiction.
Mm.
Therefore, they're not seeking to tell you facts, but they're just seeking to tell you things they think you want to hear. So
Yeah, which is a very dangerous position to be in.
it is a very dangerous position. And I think once people catch on, they're going to be less inclined to be using these tools
Mm.
within the AI space.
Yes.
So the brands have what is an opportunity come have it. I mean, the brands are sitting in this space with algorithms all around,
Mm.
and they have an opportunity.
Yes.
The opportunity is not to manipulate, but rather to educate and try to add real value.
Yes.
I see the brands that are winning are the ones that are going to help customers understand how a product fits into that customer's life
Mm.
versus what it does.
Yes.
So I think the customer is not going to anymore listen to what the brands say. I think those days are over.
Mm.
The influencer marketing, I think it's pretty much passé, but they're going to watch what the brands actually do.
Mm. No, very true. So, authenticity, ethics, and brand adaptation. Many argue that brands can no longer manipulate, in inverted commas, their audience, and most operate with far greater authenticity and purpose. So, do you agree? And how have global brands had to adapt? And is this evolution part of the transformation work you lead?
So having worked in luxury for decades, I have seen cycles of trust and erosion.
Yes.
When brands prioritize margins over integrity,
Mm.
whether in sourcing, manufacturing, or transparency,
Mm.
the trust will eventually collapse. Sustainability is not marketing, it's a license to operate.
Yes.
And if you break that trust, growth will become hard to sustain at some point.
Yes.
But going beyond just the products, right? Because the products need
That's
to,
that's one aspect of it, right?
that's one aspect of it. But if we talk about consumers are going to quickly figure out if there's a disconnect between what the brands are saying and what they're doing. Although sometimes they're going to think that they found something when they haven't found something. And there's a danger of that too,
Yeah.
of over jumping.
Yeah.
But I mean, basically, brands, what do they need to do? They need to be transparent. They need to be delivering consistently.
Mm.
Brands will make mistakes. So anyone who thinks that a brand won't make mistakes, it's not realistic.
Yeah.
But the brands must admit their mistakes.
Yes.
And so for me,
And take
the question is
accountability.
100%. And so we're really trying to build the system so that authenticity is not a campaign, but it's just integrated into processes quite natural.
Yes. Absolutely. So career highlights, across such a diverse and international career, what moments or achievements stand out for you most as personal and professional highlights? So again, you probably had multiple, but is there anything in particular that stands out?
I'll start. Titles don't mean anything to me. What I care about is having impact. So
Yes.
I've had the pleasure of leading some large scale transformations across luxury and FMCG and fast moving consumer goods. I've been able to turn around some underperforming businesses into very profitable ones. I've seen brands use systems that I've built 10 years after I've left the company.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've seen people that I've coached grow into big leaders, or building global teams that are outperforming benchmarks.
Mm-mm.
I mean, for me, really, it's not about me. It's really about the people I've worked with and to see them succeeding after I've moved on.
Yes. Amazing. So the advantage of a global life. So you've lived and worked across multiple regions and cultures. So how has this global exposure shaped your thinking and given you an advantage in the work you do today?
So living globally will teach you that there is not one right way,
No.
that there's always a context, that leadership comes from listening.
Yes.
And with this already builds a lot of humility and adaptability. Um, but also work understanding different systems and how they function in different languages. It also helps to navigate complexity
Mm.
and to avoid arrogance.
Yeah.
And you learn to lead by asking questions rather than having assumptions.
Yes.
So what I want to say is that the more countries you work in, the less certain you become, and that's a good thing.
Yes, absolutely. So from classical music to global leadership, so your journey began in a very different world. So as a classically trained musician at Juilliard and Eastman, can you share more about that chapter of your life and how it ultimately led you into the leadership business and transformation that you're in today?
So music actually trained me to lead before I knew I was leading.
Okay.
Because because classical music, what does it teach you? It teaches you discipline,
Yeah.
it teaches you preparation, it teaches you about this collective performance. An orchestra for me is the perfect leader or a perfect leadership model because everyone has a role.
Mm.
The timing matters. Egos actually ruin performances, which is the case in companies today.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Consent.
and so having that kind of one focus that we're all together on the same page, doing the same thing and expressing our creativity, yet with the respect and the it's a sort of it's a sort of nebulous, but in the most beautiful way that can create that can give goosebumps to the audience and can make people literally cry.
Yes.
So business cannot be a solo. The business has to be an orchestra,
Mm-mm.
and with that harmony and that incredible emotion that can build.
Yes. So I want to go back to leadership because I do think this is something that there's a lot of conversation about today and about the lack of or effective leadership globally as well as in business and entrepreneurial. So from both an entrepreneurial and corporate perspective, what do you believe needs to change and how would you describe your own leadership style? Um, and how has your classical music training influenced the way you lead teams in your organizations? And if you've got an example that you could potentially give us.
Pleasure. So leadership today requires humanity
Mm.
and not authority. We shifted from long-term social contracts to short-term performance cycles in companies.
Mm.
Companies chase quarterly results, employees chase careers, and that ends up eroding ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And leadership today we need to rebuild trust by giving clarity, safety, and
Mm-hmm.
meaning, and not just targets.
Yeah,
So what
exactly.
does it
Kind of
mean?
one without the other, basically.
Exactly, and I think between the companies having destroyed their own social contract, that pushed people towards focusing on their own careers rather than focusing on that harmony between the company and growth within a company that we could have seen maybe 50 years ago.
Yes.
So real leadership means a clarity of purpose, both short and long term. It means that there's an accountability, but also an empathy.
Yes.
It means that we have a sort of safety. Well, we must feel safe to be creative. And we need to inspire people to think about the big picture, but not just to think about the big picture, but to make sure they act on it.
Yes.
So my style personally um, is based on high standards, on trust with my teams, coaching versus command, because ultimately in music it taught me that performance will only come if you have full trust.
Yeah, 100%. and synergy between all the people involved, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So without trust, I mean, you could just go home.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the biggest problem is the world, there's no trust anymore because there's just such a bad um lack of leadership, really. So,
I mean, it depends. I mean, for me, I work hard to build people to build teams with whom I can trust.
yeah.
And I also try to show the people above me that they can trust. So it's something that you can influence at your level,
Mm.
depending on where you are in an organization. But yeah, you can't act for everybody.
No, you can't. So that brings me to what we did touch on a bit earlier, but AI technology and human judgment. So AI is rapidly transforming business and society. So how do you personally and professionally use AI as a tool without becoming overly dependent on it? And are there aspects of AI that concern you? And how do you think leaders can balance technology with human judgment, creativity, and self-awareness?
A great question, Karen. Um, if we bring it down to a nutshell,
Mm.
AI should be sharpening our thinking, and it should not be replacing our thinking.
Yes, exactly.
So personally, I use AI to handle administrative tasks, administrative letters. I let AI do a lot of the work, the groundwork. I also use it in automation to automate customer responses and communications.
Mm.
So the customer reactions for very simple things can be immediate, and in real time.
Mm.
I also use it to create actionable dashboards in order to be able to pull together financial data or other data quickly to be able to act on. Um, Having said this, judgment, ethics, and creativity remain human.
Yeah, of course.
And AI for me is not a risk in and of itself. What is a risk is uncritical dependency on AI.
Mhm.
So for me, we need to remain grounded in nature. Go out into the mountains, go out into the forest, even just into a park if you're in a city.
Mm.
Taking the time to disconnect and just reflect,
Yeah.
and also take some time to be more self aware.
Yes.
So
Self-awareness
AI
is a
does,
big one.
yeah. And I think, I mean, does it help me to prepare faster? Yes. But judgment still happens in the room.
Yeah, exactly. So that leads me to the next question, which is vision, profit, and the human element. So, what is your ultimate vision for the work that you do today? And how do you balance profitability with leadership, culture, and human dimension, especially in a large corporation? And do you see a role for yourself in supporting smaller businesses or startups facing resource constraints?
So I think, profit is the outcome of good leadership, but it is not the purpose of good leadership.
Yeah.
I always try to help organizations grow
Mm.
without losing their soul.
Yeah.
Because for me, ultimately, profit, people, and purpose, they're not opposites.
No.
Um, that's why I'm increasingly drawn to mentoring, to advisory roles, but also to supporting startups and scale ups.
Mm.
Because ultimately, smaller businesses often need clarity more than capital. Although 90% of small businesses fail because of the cash flow, not because of profits and losses. So it's
Yeah.
always making sure that you have enough treasury available to manage the business. And for me, ultimately, it's about making people thrive, because if people thrive, the profit will come. It's not the other way around. If you're driving it through profits, people will become demotivated, and you'll
Yeah, and
actually
they
have no.
become resentful too.
And honestly, you will be less successful in getting the profits, because people will not give their best unless they're thriving. And when they're thriving, they'll deliver better results than what you expect.
Yeah, exactly. So that leads me to the final question. Um, Advice, legacy, and the future. So finally, what are the three key pieces of advice you would give to entrepreneurs or leaders aspiring to follow a similar path? And what legacy would you like to ultimately leave behind? Or how would you like to be remembered?
I mean, For me, you'll be in a company maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years, maybe 1 year, maybe 3 years, whatever. Um, I think you'll feel satisfaction if you can build something which will outlive your role.
Mm.
So, in terms of concrete advice, I would say always learn to listen before leading.
Mm.
I would say do not chase titles, but chase impact. And especially as you become more mature, make the choice to lead the change rather than being carried by the change. So the legacy I want to leave is that organizations are stronger than once I found them.
Mm.
I want to develop people who will lead with integrity and to prove that performance and humanity can coexist. The way you treat people will always be left behind. The
Mm.
success of an
100%.
organization is temporary.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your insights and lessons. And so, if people would like to connect with you, Benjamin, what are the best platforms to do so?
I'm quite active on LinkedIn, and please, I have a newsletter on LinkedIn. Please go ahead and subscribe to that. That's the only advertising you'll hear from me on that. But I write about one newsletter a week, more or less. So once you're subscribed, you can hear different thoughts that I might have on a business, on society, whatever. From a professional standpoint, that's really the number one.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And hopefully, we can have you back in the future to see where you are in your journey. And again, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Karen.